Okay, and welcome everyone. Today is the regular board meeting for the Cameron Park CSD. Today is Wednesday, October 21st, 2020. We're convening this meeting at 6:31. We will be following the teleconference Zoom meeting protocols as adopted earlier, and those are included in the packet. And then we'll start with our roll call, please, Jill.
Director Scobie.
Here.
Director Aston.
Here.
Director Carlson.
Here.
Director Morrison.
Here.
And Director Wooten is absent.
Great. And let's go ahead and proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. How about this time I take a volunteer?
I'll be happy to do that for you.
Thank you, Eric. Go ahead.
You're welcome. Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you, Eric. Okay, we're moving on to our public testimony, and just letting everyone know that it will be received on each agenda item as it is called. And principal party on each side of an issue is allocated 10 minutes to speak, and individual comments limited to 3 minutes. And so if there's we can waive with said rules with a majority vote, and everyone can read that is currently posted on the agenda. So our next item is the adoption of the agenda. And I would like to bring to everyone's attention that I misspoke, and that I asked for a closed session to be added regarding the general manager. And we're actually supposed to have that conversation in November. So I would request that we remove that item number 2 under the closed session agenda and repost it in November when we have the information that we need. Any other comments on the agenda?
I think we would need to vote on that.
Yes. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I motion that we remove agenda item number 2 from the closed session and adopt the agenda, rest of the agenda as written.
And is there a second?
So I have a comment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Holly.
So you don't think there's anything that we could bring up tonight? Possibly in the closed session?
I was thinking, we discussed that was going on November, and I misspoke and asked for it to be put on here. If the board wants to have a discussion, that's fine. It's agendized. We can do so. I was just thinking that since we all agreed it was going to be November, I would bring that to your attention.
I don't know if we need to have a discussion, as we do have our plans set out, as you said, but I'm just wondering if there's, if the will of the board would be to keep it on there or not. I have no problem either way. I just thought if we take it off, then we can't discuss anything.
So I seconded Eric's motion to pass the agenda without item number 2 in the closed session. And that was my understanding of what tonight would be, was that we would be waiting till November for item number 2. So I would like to proceed as originally planned for tonight.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the removal of the closed session item number 2, and a roll call vote, please, Jill.
Director Scobie.
Aye.
Director Aston.
Aye.
Director Carlson.
Aye.
Director Morrison.
You're muted, Holly.
My dog was so loud. Sorry.
And Director Wooten is absent.
All right, so motion passes to adopt the agenda as modified with 4 approved and 1 absent. So moving on to our recognitions and presentations, I believe we have none. There's none agendized. So our open forum, now I was thinking we might have someone join us tonight in open forum. Have they arrived?
We have 3 people in it, in the public here.
Oh, wonderful. All right. So what we're asking for then, we'd like to let you speak, and to let us know you would like to speak, there is a tab to raise your hand. Is that right, Nikki? I don't see it on here. So how do they notify us they want to speak?
Under participants,
Yeah, or if they're, it looks
and they
like. it
can
doesn't look
raise
like
their
anything.
hand.
Yeah, if you just go on the menu bar and
There
raise
it
your
is.
hand.
Yes. Thank you, Holly. So if you'd like to speak, the board would love to hear from you. We're always looking, all of us are looking for public comment. We need your input. So under the participants tab at the bottom of Zoom, there is a menu that says ... And if you click on that, it says raise hand, and that will let us know if you'd like to speak. So,
Monique?
yes.
Director Scobie, this is Felicity. May I just read the open forum for non-agenda items? Do you mind if I just read that segment of the agenda?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Members of the public may speak on any item not on the agenda that falls within the jurisdiction of the Board of Directors. That's it.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so with that stated, Nikki, do we have any hands raised?
We do.
Okay, let's go ahead and start.
Linda, did you want to go ahead?
Yes, hi. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board. My name is Linda Moya, and I live on Alhambra Court. I wanted to address the board regarding the topic of concern to us in the neighborhood here regarding ordinance number 2020.03.18, which is the weed and rubbish abatement program ordinance. Several of us in the neighborhood have filed complaints with the county and have also filed complaints with Cameron Park Community Services District regarding the unkept property behind our homes. The issue is that previously, and the previous people that were in that program had a contractor come out here and do some weed whacking on the vegetation, cut down some dead trees and stuff like that, moved it out 30 feet and then stacked it up between 10 and 20 feet high and left it there. We were unable to get the people involved with your program to go ahead and do anything about that big stack of dry brush and trees and whatever, which is a horrible, horrible fire hazard. So what I'm asking for the board to do is to please consider what your ordinance states about the removal of such property, removal of the debris away from our homes from 30 to 100 feet. 30 feet is really nothing when you live in this area, as you well know. And so I'd really like to see that the board could direct the staff to help us get this in with a resolution and to have them go ahead and bill the state, bill the county, whoever they have to bill the property manager people, the property owners. Our property owners happen to live in Germany and in Peru. Therefore, they don't really care about this place. They don't care if we go up and smoke fire or anything else. So as homeowners, we would like the property to be cleared. It would be wonderful if it could be 100 feet. Remove all that stuff that had been stacked up previously to ensure somewhat to reduce the fire hazard out here. I have been in contact with the current staff on your weed abatement program, and we are working together to try to head in the direction to have this resolved. But I know that it's going to need some push from the board as well. So I thank you very much for your time and letting me address this situation.
Great. Thank you, Linda, for bringing that to our attention. We very much appreciate that.
Could I
Nick?
ask what the address was again, please?
2983 Alhambra Court is my address.
Thank you.
Nikki, is there another hand raised who'd like to address the board?
There is not.
Okay,
This is Director Carlson. I have a procedural question.
please go ahead.
Thank you. As members of the board, I know that we generally don't engage in sort of back and forth conversation in unagended items. So for something like this, it would be appropriate if I wanted to just make a comment or respond at the end of the meeting. Matters to and from board members. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention, Felicity. All right, moving on. There's no other hands raised, Nikki. Last chance, anyone? We'd love to hear from you.
No.
Okay, well, once again, thank you, Linda, for attending, and I hope you stay. All right, moving on to our approval of our consent agenda. Is there anyone interested in making a motion?
Oh, this is Director Carlson. I move to approve the consent agenda.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that. Director Easton?
That was a second, Eric?
Yes, I'll second that.
So we have a first and a second to approve the consent agenda. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote, please, Jill.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Easton,
Aye.
Director Carlson,
Aye.
Director Morrison,
Aye.
and Director Wooten is absent.
All right, the consent agenda has been adopted, 4 approved and 1 absent. Moving on to our next item, our general business. And we're going to go ahead and open our public hearing. And we're going to, the recommendation is to approve resolution 2020-25, approving the El Dorado Disposal Waste Connections rate adjustment for county solid waste surcharge. And I believe we have some information to be presented. And let's go ahead and begin. Jill?
Hello, and before I start the subject, just Director Wooten was trying to connect. That was the phone call that I received. So I was trying to send her some information. So hopefully she'll be able to connect this evening. So I know that she was working on that. I just want to welcome Greg Stanton from El Dorado County Environmental Management. He's here this evening, and also Jeff Stevens. And I'm not sure if there's any others from the El Dorado disposal team here this evening as well to help with the presentation. So I'm going to kind of tee it off, kick it off, and then Greg and Jeff, if you want to chime in with anything, please feel free to do so, and then we'll open it up for board questions. So anyway, we're here this evening to ask for a rate adjustment on the surcharge that the county charges on waste that is landfilled. This rate adjustment helps the county to fund their responsibilities, which are required by the state for waste management in the county. We were here at the board back in August, and we did have an update to our MOU with El Dorado Disposal, and we did make some rate adjustments at that time for extraordinary circumstances related to recycling. And then we also had our cost of living increase that was also triggered. After that meeting on August 19th, on August 25th, the County Board of Supervisors met, and they also made adjustments to their agreement with El Dorado Disposal, and in addition made some rate adjustments, one of which was being the surcharge on the solid waste surcharge, the county solid waste surcharge. And that does have effects to other communities in our district. And that's because the county does work on behalf of all of the communities in the county on issues related to waste management. And there is a list of those items in your report, but I think just to acknowledge that probably the greatest project service that is funded and needs to be funded is the maintenance and operations of the landfill, the old landfill. So there is quite a bit of monitoring and reporting needed for the state on that. And so that's where a lot of this will go. So anyway, that's kind of it. So Greg and Jeff, do you want to add anything to that?
Sure, I'd be happy to add Greg Stanton, Director of Environmental Management with El Dorado County. As I said to the Budget and Admin Committee when we met, I recognize and am certainly sensitive to the fact that no one likes to see the cost of services increase, and especially not during a pandemic when others are struggling in many ways. Having said that, we're at a point where we really had no choice but to come forward at this time with this increase that the board approved. And I might add that the city of Placerville also approved, which is in your report, back on, I forget the date, I apologize, September 22nd. As Jill had mentioned, the landfill, the old Union Mine landfill was one of the primary drivers for the board's consideration for this increase. The landfill, actually, this picture behind me is of the landfill, only this is, I forget what time frame, but it's somewhere between 1860 and 1940 when the landfill was an operating gold mine. In 1962, the county took it over as a burn dump and then ultimately as a permitted solid waste landfill. And as you know, the development in Cameron Park started in the 1960s. So all of the waste throughout the county from the districts, from the unincorporated area, as well as from the city of Placerville was brought to this landfill. Unfortunately, once you have a landfill, you are stuck for life. And the county is obligated to maintain the site for decades to come at a significant cost. The closure, there is an open portion still of the landfill, a small portion that'll be closed probably in the next 6 to 8 years. And that portion, which is 6 acres, is estimated in today's dollars to cost $2.7 million to close. That is fully funded. That is held in an interest-bearing account and by state statute. And so we are prepared for that financial cost. What we do not have pre-funded is the 30-year maintenance and monitoring costs for the site, which in today's dollars is $16.3 million. And so that was one of the issues that really is driving, because the cost to maintain the site over the years keeps accelerating. The water board keeps placing additional requirements on the county. The budget for this year for the site is $1.4 million for the landfill itself. I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but I can tell you that the landfill gas collection system that's operated, the maintenance of the landfill itself, the amount of testing that we have to do for groundwater, surface water, it's significant. And so that's why we're here tonight to request your consideration and approval of the surcharge. Jill had mentioned the list of the other services that are provided to the district and throughout the county. And I should clarify that some of those are not county-wide, but they're unincorporated wide. So as an example, CalRecycle recognizes 3 distinct jurisdictions throughout the county, and those are the 2 cities, Placerville and South Lake Tahoe, and then the county unincorporated. And so as an example, under the first bullet point, the regulatory compliance, we do assist the city of Placerville, but the city itself is responsible for the state mandates and for the potential penalties and repercussions for not meeting those mandates by CalRecycle. On the flip side of that, the county is responsible for the CSDs to meet those state mandates, and recognizing that you have your own franchise agreements with El Dorado Disposal, the county still works with El Dorado Disposal to assist the districts in meeting those state mandates. And I'll give you an example. And I will apologize for the numerical and alphabetic soup under that first one with all the numbers, but I can go into detail as far as what those various Assembly bills and Senate bills are. But Assembly Bill 1826 affected businesses and multifamily dwellings requiring organics recycling. And the county assisted El Dorado Disposal in Cameron Park with compliance with that state statute. in terms of sending out letters to the multifamily dwellings and even doing on-sites to ensure that either they are exempt or were required to meet those requirements. The diversion programs, I can go into those. There's quite a few. Obviously, the roadside litter and illegal dumping on the roadways, as well as the legal sign complaints that we respond to. The grant acquisition I want to talk about for just a minute, because we have supported the district through grant funding in a few ways. Number one, Echo Hero comes to mind. That was a contract that we entered into with a performance company, if you will, to conduct assemblies for K-6 schools. Blue Oak received that assembly or that performance, and the purpose of it was to basically educate young kids on how to recycle right, not to litter, etc. Another grant would be our city-county payment program. Jill, I can't remember how many of the recycling containers that we provided to the district, those colorful blue mountain containers that are used for recyclables, but we've distributed those to the district. We have a food rescue and recovery grant, which is a partnership with the Food Bank of El Dorado County. And that grant is not specifically starting in Cameron Park, but we're optimistic that once we get through this grant cycle, which is targeting really expanding the ability for Food Bank to rescue food and distribute it to those in need, which may very well benefit Cameron Park residents, but it also will have a pilot program for food, not food waste, but food recovery in restaurants in Town Center and El Dorado Hills. And so that would be food that hasn't hit the plate yet that can still be recovered and served to those in needs. The intent is to get through this grant cycle and then apply for another grant and expand that program to other areas in our county, including Cameron Park. Another example, all the residents of Cameron Park, they can take their tires, waste tires, which it seems like we never have an ending string of waste tires, to the material recovery facility for free. And that's sponsored by a grant through the county. It mentions in here the El Dorado Disposal Franchise Agreement Administration. I recognize again that the district has its own agreement, but the county also conducts monthly inspections on the material recovery facility and meets with El Dorado Disposal monthly. But more importantly, because the county operates a landfill, we have to contract out with Placer County for what's called local enforcement agency assistance. And that 5-year contract runs $625,000. 36 to over 40% of that, depending upon the year, is devoted to El Dorado Disposal and the MRF. And the MRF is used by the Cameron Park Community Services District. And then we've touched obviously in depth on the Union Mine landfill. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but I'm hopeful that you will consider and approve the county's, well, El Dorado Disposal's request on behalf of the county to increase the rate to cover the cost of the surcharge, which I think you'll note in the agenda of transmittal that last page, as an example, for a 64-gallon cart represents 17 cents a pickup for residential customers.
Thank you, Greg. Do our waste partners want to comment, add any more information before we have our directors ask questions?
I guess I'd just like to add, or I guess reiterate, that both the county and Placerville has approved this 2.46% increase, and El Dorado Disposal will be working with El Dorado Hills in the upcoming weeks for their approval. Again, this is a pass-through rate increase, meaning El Dorado Disposal bills the 2.46 and then turns around and remits this revenue to the county on a quarterly basis as we pay our quarterly franchise fees.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Directors, do we have any questions?
This is Director Carlson. I have a comment and a question. Thank you for the presentation. And, you know, in light of recent news, I think it was Exide Corporation down in Vernon in Southern California just was excused from cleaning up its mess due to bankruptcy. So I appreciate the county being responsible and clean, you know, and looking forward and realizing that this is a a landfill that's the result of all of our community development. And you know, so I understand the reasoning behind the increase and the need for it even at this time. And also I just want to clarify that if we were to vote no on this, that my understanding is the county would have a need to come around back to Cameron Park and try to find another way for Cameron Park to, I guess, make the county whole for for Cameron Park's responsibility on the landfill. And I'm just, is that right? And is there and and what is, I guess my question is kind of, what is the county's authority? Is it just that Cameron Park has kind of been a contributor to this in the past? But so my question is, if we were to vote no, my understanding is that the county would come back to Cameron Park and try to find another way to contribute our part of this eventual close down cleanup. And then part two of the question is just help me understand what the authority is to do that. So this is a friendly question, but I just want to have understanding. Thank you.
So to answer your question, yes, you are correct. The county would then again meet with Eldorado Disposal and go through a different exercise in how to ensure that Cameron Park pays its fair share. I would reiterate that the surcharge does support not just the landfill, but all of the other solid waste components that we've discussed tonight. In terms of the county's authority, I just need some clarification exactly what you're asking.
I guess, and again, I'm basically in favor of this, I understand, but let's just say that we voted no tonight and the county had to meet with the disposal agency and try to come up with a plan B. Is there a law or is there a contract or what is it that kind of would obligate Cameron Park to cooperate? Does that make sense?
It does, and I guess this would be a friendly first ask to try to educate your board on the reasonableness and the reasoning behind the request. The county is the sole, under the ordinance, is the sole entity that provides for a franchise agreement for the Eldorado Disposal Material Recovery Facility. So all of Cameron Park's waste goes through a facility that is allowed, if you will, by the Eldorado County Board of Supervisors.
Right, okay.
And so we would look at another methodology, basically, whereby any waste that is being brought to that facility would incur an additional cost.
Yeah.
In order to use that facility.
Right. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
I have a question. Director Morrison, hello, Mr. Stanton, Mr. Stevens. Thank you for coming tonight. So my question is this, your meeting with us tonight part of a roadshow? Are you going out to all the special districts, just the EDD customers, or every incorporated area and special district in the county?
So there are only 4 franchise agreements held with Eldorado Disposal, and that would be the unincorporated area, the 2 community services districts, and the city of Placerville. So,
okay.
So no, we are not going out to every special district. It's really your governing boards that have the administrative authority over those franchise agreements.
With EDD?
With Eldorado Disposal, correct.
Right, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, directors, any further questions before we open it up to the public? Okay, well, we do have some public here joining us, which the board is very grateful for any type of public input. And so if you'd like to speak on this item, then you can go to the participants tab and press the small, the raise your hand button. And then our host will be notified and you'll be called on. I will give you a few minutes if anyone wants to speak. Well, maybe not a few minutes.
I don't see any hands right now.
Okay. Jason, do we close the public hearing before we vote?
Yes, you should close it first, and then there can be a motion if that's what the board wants.
I see. All right. Any raised hands, Nikki?
No.
No. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll close the public hearing and we'll bring it back to the board. And what would the board like to do?
This is Director Carlson. I'm going to move to approve Resolution 2020-25, approving El Dorado Disposal Waste Connections Rate Adjustment for County Solid Waste Surcharge.
I believe it's 2020. Is that correct? Resolution 2020-20, not 25.
It should be 25. I apologize.
It should be 25.
Yes.
Okay. So I will second Director Carlson's motion to approve resolution number 2020-25. Approving the El Dorado Disposal Waste Connections Rate Adjustment for County Solid Waste Surcharge.
All right. We have a first and a second. Could we have a roll call vote, please, Joe?
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Easton. I think-
Unmute, Eric.
I heard myself. Aye.
Aye. Director Carlson,
Aye.
Director Morrison,
Aye.
and Ellie Wooten. She did call again. She did try again, but she continues to be absent.
All right. So our resolution 2020-25, approving the El Dorado Disposal Waste Connections Rate Adjustment for county solid waste surcharge has been approved. 4 in favor and 1 absent.
Thank
Moving
you
on.
very much, board.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, our waste partners.
Oh,
Thank you,
Jess.
board.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
You're all welcome to stay if you'd like.
night. Thank you.
Greg served this time.
See you soon. Yeah. Thank you very much. Have good nights.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
All right, so moving on to our board information items. Number 11, matters to and from board and members and staff. Let's go ahead and have staff start.
So I wanted to give the board members a little bit of update on how changes to COVID guidelines, either through the state or the county, have affected some of our operations here at the district. We had wanted to open up our community center to returning guests. We had also wanted to do a walk around the lake that could be for a certain number of families, socially distanced, masked, a walk around the lake for trick or treating. So there were a few things that we had in the works, but after conversations with the county, some of those things are being rethought and replanned. So at this point, our trick or treat walking event around the lake is going to be changing up to a trunk or treat with cars. Everybody will have to remain in their car. We are looking for trying to secure a site right now. We should have more news about that tomorrow. That event will go on. We are putting pumpkins in the pool. That event will go on, but there are some changes that the county recently made. So the community center will not be reopening, even to returning clients. So I think that what we were all doing here is in trying to serve our residents is really take a look at, what are restaurants doing? What are convention centers doing? What are the guidelines for businesses, and trying to fitness centers and try to work within those guidelines in a safe and responsible manner, and provide services to our residents. And Right now, the county's priority is schools and businesses, and operations of the community center and recreation and parks programs are just not within those priorities right now. And so I think it will become much more quieter around here, or at least continue to be quiet around here. So very disappointing. I did let the folks at the county, leadership at the county, know that our intent in providing these kinds of programs is about prevention. People do need places and avenues to socialize and to recreate. We certainly had, some not good things happen. There was a lot of unrest up in Tahoe. There was, some park in El Dorado Hills that was being invaded. And so we really feel like if we're able to provide some safe and responsible avenues for our residents, it might prevent some of the other things that were occurring in the community. So, or at least in the county. So, so that's that. And we'll have more news on that, our Halloween events and if we can do anything for Christmas, we'll just continue to be flexible. The other thing that occurred is that playground requirements were refined here in the last couple of weeks. And there are a lot of requirements for marking playground equipment to ensure social distancing, putting a number of kids, posting the number of people that can play on equipment at one point in time, hand washing stations. And so a lot of resources, a lot of signage for our playgrounds, and our playgrounds are aged. And so what staff is doing right now is we're assessing what those guidelines are to see if we can apply those to our playgrounds. We will let you know if we're able to do that. Right now, we posted signs that says playgrounds are closed, use at your own risk. And if we find that we can open them in a responsible manner that's going to meet the state and county guidelines and expectations, we will repost that and do that. So just know that COVID guidelines are ever changing. It's really difficult to keep on top of them. We really try to do as much as we can for our residents. We feel that that's really important, but it's quite challenging. And oftentimes we feel like we're spinning our wheels because we'll start something, we'll get it going, we think we're doing the right thing, and then something new comes in and we totally get redirected. So just know that that's kind of what's going on.
Thank you, Jill, for that update. And we all appreciate what staff does to help serve our community. Let's go ahead and hear from Felicity. Any matters to and from?
Yeah, I'd like to, hold on a second. I would like to briefly circle back to the topic that the member of the public brought up in the non-agendized items portion of the meeting, and the acreage behind her house. And I'm hoping that this, if it hasn't already, is this something that could be looked into by the fire committee and then reported back to the full board at a future date?
I'm wondering if we could just get a update from our fire regarding this. That would be just as kind of a status from the staff.
Sure, yeah.
Is this the property that we got a notification about? Yes, that's what I thought.
And I'm not going to go into discuss it because I definitely have my thoughts about this and that and the other, but I know that this is not the place to do that. So I would like for it either for the fire department, the fire function to report back to us at the next board meeting, or it go to the fire committee and report back at the next time after that.
Or maybe we could just get a current update on this item to see, and then if we need to bring it back to a committee or so forth, we can do so. So Sherry, could you tell us what's happening?
Yes. So Ms. Moria, as she reported, there was some work done on a 30-acre parcel, which borders a lot of our residences up there in Alhambra. Just a little bit of a clarification, back in 2018, there was fuels reduction work done on that property, but it was not, the fire department did not hire them. It was actually the property owners. There was 3 owners at the time, and they live out of the country, and they have an attorney who lives in the United States, and they did that clearing on their own. Since then, one of the owners, from what I understand, passed away. The probate changed, and the address, I don't know what happened, but the county has not even been able to collect on taxes because they didn't have the address on this, and we've reached out to them. So, as you know, every single year, these vacant land owners get letters from us for the weed abatement. They get multiple letters, and when we do everything we can to find them, but sometimes that's not possible in situations like this. So Ms. Moya brought that to our attention recently, and literally as recently as I said in my email, as last week, our weed abatement staff was able to contact this attorney and find out that there's one owner lives in Peru, and I think the other one was like Germany, and he is working towards getting them to pay to get this lot cleared. And so I think that as she said, we're working hard. We want this to happen. There are hundreds of lots out there that we are trying to get abated. And I just want to say that, Ms. Moya, I really appreciate your perspective and your concern about fuels reduction and the fire hazard, because I wish everybody felt that way. So your input is valued, and we appreciate that. And we really want to do everything possible, but it's just unfortunate that we work with the county, and the county should have all of this contact because they collect the taxes. Well, it apparently went like 10 years without taxes being collected, and then this has happened recently. So it was that we can only do so much, and we have so many properties. So I think we're in a good spot here where we have we're formulating a letter for the attorney to send to the homeowners, or that property owner, so that we can give them the attorney a little bit of oomph to make sure they come in and clear this. And hopefully it's not going to be an issue, because Ms. Moria is correct that this property borders many, many homes. It's that, we know what's going on around the state. And like I said, we're doing everything we possibly can. I know that our weed abatement staff had a good conversation with her yesterday, and it seemed like we're in agreement that we're working together to abate this, or to get this fixed.
Great, thank you, Sherry, for that. I think all of us as a community is concerned about these type of issues. So I think it's a good idea to go ahead and ask for an update through the fire committee. It might be this month or the next month, because it looks like there's some sort of process going on. So Jill, could you add that to a future item, so at least the fire committee can get an update, and our public through that committee? Okay, Felicity, did you have anything else?
Just one other thing. Thank you. I appreciate the update, Chief Marians. Yes, the Seroptimists are accepting applications until November 15 for cash awards to women who are head of household and are also pursuing a degree. So if you happen to and have financial need, so if you happen to know anybody that might fall into that category, they can find a posting on my Facebook page, Felicity Carlson. I don't think Seroptimist has a web page, but it's just trying to spread the word. So thank you. That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Felicity. Holly, would you like to go next?
Hi. So I stopped by to pick up my packet and committee CDs the other night, late afternoon, early evening, and was very pleased to pull up and see Mike Grassley and Ramon and our other community center employee, seeing 3 staff at the same time in person, human beings, was really exciting, I have to say. And they had been, I think, up on the roof checking out a few things. And I wanted to make comment on how incredible the community center looks. I think that all the lights are finally on, the entirety of the building and the whole campus. I don't think I've ever seen that, or if so, it was at the very beginning when we didn't even have all of our post lights around the pool and in that in the corners of the parking lot. So you can actually see the building. It's really quite lovely, completely lit up. If you have a chance, drive by and take a look. So thank you for getting that done, Jill and Mike. I had a question for Jill. Do we have any idea where we are in closing the books on 2019, 2020? Do we have a closing time?
Vicki is out of the office this week. She had a family emergency, so she is out of the office this week. We reported out to the Budget and Admin Committee that we would have our first quarter for our current fiscal year in November. And we're hopeful to have the year end at that same time, but it may be December.
Okay. So along with Director Scobie and Carlson, we participated in the 2-day session of the Board of Directors Fiduciary Responsibilities for Special Districts yesterday and today. And then I just had a question again for Jill. With this, to me, really sad news of not opening up any of our programs, do you see any staff reductions warranted at this time? Or are you still evaluating that?
We're going through that process now. There are things like outdoor Tai Chi that can occur. So there are things, so we're kind of going through that process now. And we'll see what we can do for them.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, we worked really hard to build the district staff structure. We would certainly, after,
Terrible.
you know, yeah, I hate to change it right now. So we'll do our best. And what our plan is to come to the board with options. So certainly it's not my decision. I mean, I can make decisions regarding part-time staff and reductions of part-time staff hours and moving folks around and things like that. But you know, if it comes to layoffs, that'll be a board decision, and we'll come forward with some options.
Yeah, obviously, you know, none of us are happy about it. It's terrible for all of our residents and participants in all of our programs. We've worked so hard to build these programs up, and but we barely had a balanced budget, so I'm sure you're working on it. I just wondered if you had any early ideas.
Yeah, the district's fiscal sustainability is most important to all of us.
Yeah.
Everyone's best interest.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Holly. Eric.
Yes, I'm not muted, correct?
I hear you.
Thank you for that.
That's funny.
So a few items. First, I'm sure it'll come up another place, but I want to mention and commend our fire service for their work in partnership with what happened on Sunday afternoon,
Oh,
50.
no kidding.
We got that email from Morantz on the update, but my son came home from work and said, hey, there's a fire down there. And
Right.
all that real time in our community, next door and other things as people reporting and all that. There's some great and sharing reporting update websites. But bottom line simply being, number one, our fire partners were part of taking care of that before it got to be anything else. And to recognize that part of that is their work through the weed abatement ordinance and some of the barriers that were created there.
Hear, hear.
We're here, weed abatement.
That helped keep that under control. So thank you, Chief Morantz. Thank you. Express that to our fire partners and all of our fire folks there. Spectacular. And that's one of a few instances, at least a couple I can think of just in recent months, where they have helped squash something that could have been worse. So just grateful for that. I want to remind our community members and confirm from your general manager, our boundary property with the library is a ballot drop-off location, correct?
Yes.
So just encouraging board and community members to make sure they're taking advantage and vote and participate in this wonderful democratic republic that we are a part of. Vote, vote, vote. We have locations to help with that. So encourage that.
The community
here.
center is a vote center, so everybody can come to the vote center, community center, starting next Friday through elections. We're open every day with voting.
Thank you for that additional detail. That's wonderful. So on the heels of that, having heard some of that news about the county's word to us and how that shuts down some of our plans, I'll confess I'm disappointed and a bit frustrated with how this is coming to us. So I'm going to encourage my fellow board members that perhaps we need to chime in at the county level with whoever we need to speak with to just help them recognize the additional burden this places on us when functionally the things we're proposing are not any different than are already happening in other locations and in other entities and other businesses. It's simply because of the kind of entity we are at this point, which is part of my frustration. We are trying to provide healthy alternatives, both to benefit the community and keep this going so that we can continue it in the future. So maybe we can voice that to the powers that be and help them reconsider some of that. So that's all I have for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I believe we have a update, another staff update from fire.
Yeah.
And I think Jed wanted to have say a few things.
I'm gonna lead in real quick because Chief Gaines is he's actively running calls. So when the board meeting started, he was actually headed to a vegetation fire at the westbound off ramp of Ponderosa right there.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
So that's why he and I are tag teaming, and he's there. And so, but he actually went out and walked this fire today again, and he's actually gonna give you a little bit closer, more detailed briefing on this.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Jed.
Morning,
so-
Jed. Or evening.
Sunday afternoon, we had a report of vegetation fire. Callan Richards was on this was his call. I was off duty that day, so this was his. But yeah, Sunday afternoon, report of a vegetation fire right off Highway 50 and Cameron Park Drive. So when Callan and Engine 89 arrived at scene, they were the first two there. They noticed they had about 5 separate fires. After our Cal Fire Prevention Bureau was out there and after a big long investigation, they determined it was a catalytic converter failure off of automobile going up the highway, and it pretty much just blew chunks out of the exhaust going up the highway, which caused about roughly 5 different fires. So the 5 fires burned into each other, so we ended with a total of 2 separate fires. The one you're looking at there is about 4 acres, and then the one farther to the east was 10 acres. So this one here that we're looking at right here, right where that vehicle is parked. Yeah, this is the fuel break that is right on the private property boundary and then the county owned property.
Wow.
Right on the district there.
Gorgeous.
So
It's beautiful.
yeah, it started to the east there, and we did have a little bit of a
Wow.
northeast wind there, and it pushed it right to that fire break, and that is what stopped it along that end to keep it from progressing any farther west into Cameron Park.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we're
Was
very
this
happy with.
Chief Gaines?
Yes.
Was this clearing part of the Grant and Growlersburg and BLM crew, or no?
No, this was not. This was just under our Cameron Park weed abatement ordinance. With our weed abatement specialist, Jess Garrison, worked really hard this spring. And then this was one of the first times we were able to get this clearance out on these lots this year out on this end because we made this area a priority. So a lot of the private property owners out there were very willing to participate and get this done. And on this, believe this is a 10-acre parcel. So they were required to do a 30-foot fuel break around their entire parcel, and that's what they did, and that's what you're seeing there was the far east end of their property, and you could see that old car parked out there. There is several homeless camps out there, as you know, yeah, so we had that one, and then the one a little farther to the east, it ended up being just over 10 acres. That's the one that damaged one structure up there off of Durock. It basically was a home that had vinyl siding on it, and the vinyl siding melted. So it didn't get direct flame impingement, but it was just from the radiant heat that caused the vinyl siding to melt. So when you go look at the structure, it literally looks like it's just melting off the side of the house. And you know, all those gray pines along Highway 50 out there, they're very flammable. And this time of year in the fall, we haven't had any moisture. So the fuel moisture and pretty much all of our fuels right now are in the single digits, which is really, really low. And so those pine trees were completely torching out and then blowing embers. So they had multiple spot fires in the Durock area along Durock Road. So they were trying to pick that up as well. But they did have it pretty much contained within about an hour. We had aircraft come out of Grass Valley Air Attack Base, and we had about 4 or 5 air tanker drops on that, along with 2 helicopters came on. And yeah, with the help of the aircraft, we had 2 different bulldozers, a bunch of our hand crews and all that. And the guys hit it really hard that afternoon and were able to get it contained in about an hour. So we were pretty happy with that.
I want to give kudos to Jessica too, because the property owner actually lives out of the area. And it's just tough sometimes for people who live out of the area to coordinate all that. And so she was able to give this person, she was kind of like the liaison between the contractors. And so she arranged and got, met the contractor out there and just said what needed to be done. And then the homeowner paid it. And so that was really her going that extra mile to make that happen versus just saying, hey, get it done. And that's what we're trying to do with everything, is get that compliance versus, the whole lien process. And we get a lot of compliance doing that.
So did you find the car that caused this?
Yes.
How'd you find the car?
So that it was broken down up the road, and it apparently had not been registered because you have to smog things. And the thing about catalytic converters is actually it's like a honeycomb ceramic thing that's in the exhaust to help. It actually chemically changes the exhaust. Well, there's platinum. There's a metal in there that's called platinum, and it actually is part of the catalytic converter. And when you get so much pressure, back pressure on this, when that catalytic converter gets clogged, it gets chunks in there. And so when you're driving your vehicle or accelerating, it blows. And the ones that they find are pretty significant. They come out, they're literally can be up to 2,000 degrees. And so when you're peppering those out, you're getting those multiple fires, and then that fires, they grow together really fast. I mean, this, I think it was like 20 minutes and had already grown this large. So,
I mean, this is about the spot where the fire was a couple years ago. I actually reported that fire a couple years. I was coming westbound and saw it start near the soil company. What do you call it? The nursery and
Yeah, no, exactly right. It's pretty much, I think, just a little bit farther to the west this time. That one was a little more to the east, but yeah, it was right
on the north side of the street. Yeah.
Yep.
So are there, I know that now we're moving into like maybe DMV land, but are there consequences to the vehicle owner for not having it maintained, or is it just, I mean, not for, I guess we know that they need to be smogged. It sounds like that they messed that up. But is there like some kind of liability? Yeah.
There is. I don't know what our prevention folks are going to do, but that is, it's basically you're starting a fire without the intent to start a fire. So it's
right.
I don't know what they're
second degree.
And it happens, all the time. But the cost, ultimately, the state of California put that fire. Oh my gosh, the air tankers and all the, thousands and thousands of dollars. And the fire crews were out there all night. Next day, I mean, I think they were out there today. And so it's a very expensive for a 14-acre fire.
Right.
So I don't really know where that's going, but typically.
Yeah, and there's power lines in there. So we had power lines literally burned down, and they were on the ground. So PG&E's been out there. They were out there last several days replacing. They had to replace a couple of poles that were damaged, let alone all the lines as well.
Gosh. Well, I really appreciate. I appreciate the. I don't know if it was a press release or the statement that were made by CAL FIRE made it into the media, because I think this is as was done, this is a really important education moment, right, for the
Mhm.
public.
Yeah.
And I think that includes the component of like why it's important to maintain your vehicle and smog your vehicle and all that. I mean, this is just such an amazing example of what we and you did right, and what can go wrong from just being a little sloppy, which in something in the old days maybe wouldn't have mattered, you know, but now it matters a lot with the vehicle. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I hope we can continue to educate the public about this event and what happened. So thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for that update. And I want to thank you for informing us about Jessica going above and beyond and doing that type of outreach. And that type of outreach, I'd like to see us as a district do more of, with engaging and educating and being successful in that type of outreach. So I'm really thrilled that she actually does that. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. no,
That's
it's
what,
been-
that's what our weed abatement teams have been doing these last years. They really have been on it. This is nothing new.
Correct me if I'm
It's-
wrong. This was a property you brought to us back in your last report earlier this year.
Correct, yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
this was done this year, and then, yeah, we had that other fire out behind Robin Lane off of a similar field break.
Which is
that-
just west of there, yeah.
Yeah, different property owner, but yeah, same thing that
Yes.
Jessica went out there, and we've been wanting to get that area really, get secured in there, and it's paid off twice now this year. So.
I mean,
When you
it's full
drive
of
through, there's manzanita that's 6, 8 feet
manzanita and
tall.
redbud.
It's so thick.
Yeah,
You don't,
all those
so
bushes.
I drove in there. I didn't know those homes were in there. They're tucked all in there, and there's
Mhm.
junk, and there's homeless people in there, and it's yeah, it was a good success story.
Thank you.
We were lucky it started when it was still daylight for a little bit of time.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Great job, CAL FIRE, Kevin Park Fire.
Yeah.
A couple of things I'd like to share under matters to and from. It's also very nice seeing our directors attend our training and lift our district to higher standards. And I thank Nikki for actually, rounding us up and assisting us in making sure that happens. And I wanted to thank her for that. I also wanted to point out, I'm hoping, I understand with our pandemic issues, we won't be able to open our community center, but hopefully we'll be able to move on with the trunk or treat, because my husband and I have signed up and we're going to deliver candy through this giant pole. So the candy will go through this huge pole, and the kids will get to see it. We'll be hiding in the trunk. We're
Oh my
and hopefully we'll get to participate this year in trick or treats through this whole pole.
Are you going
is
to blow through that
awesome.
and launch it, or what do you?
No, it's gonna be an angle.
Yeah, like a tsetse gun.
We're not gonna breathe in it. We're gonna
Take
put
that
the
little
candy
Snicker
in,
bite and launch that bad boy.
and then it's gonna be pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it will happen. And if not, I have this pole for the district if they need it for anything.
That looks like a beer delivery mechanism, right? People may have used in college. I don't know. But
Anybody went to Chico State would recognize it.
that's my
Hey,
college
hey.
in the background.
Chico is fine.
I'm sorry.
You
when
know
is,
it's true, though.
what is the tentative date for trunk or treat?
So actually I just got a text from Whitney. Whitney was meeting with the airport's board of directors this evening for their permission to move the event to the airport, and they gave us that permission. So the event is moving to the airport, and it is Saturday morning, the 31st, and we are full.
Oh,
What is
I got in. I got in.
what does full mean? Does that mean like can I still drag my child along or what?
You give me a call, Felicity.
Oh, it's like sign. Okay, I missed the
Yeah,
sign.
no, we have to, for contact tracing, we have to have everybody sign up.
Oh, just bring it back on that. Okay, got it. Thanks.
We can get you in, Felicity.
And, the other thing I want to acknowledge is the lengths that our rec department is going in order to have these events. We do our best to follow the procedure, come up, make an attempt. It doesn't always work, try again and modify. And we're not always successful, but the fact that we're doing that effort, I think needs to be acknowledged. Hopefully I'll get to play with my poll, but thank you, staff, for all that. I guess that's really all I had for matters to and from, so we can move on to LAFCO. And what do you got?
Oh, LAFCO. Okay, so what LAFCO commissioners, what we did in our September meeting was continue to review the MSRs that we've been working on, the municipal service reviews. Most significantly, for the Tahoe Resource Conservation District, the Hickok Community Services District, and to consider the environmental review and the MSR and sphere of influence for El Dorado Hills CSD, which we're still working on. We also brought forward our policy and provided direction to staff for the required notice for amending the sphere of influence for El Dorado Irrigation District. So you can imagine that's a huge project. And then we also, it's that time of year, and we also convened a closed session for the evaluation of our executive director. And that's it.
Thank you, Holly, for that update. All right, moving on to committee reports, budget and admin. I believe that's Eric.
Yes, most of our work you saw tonight, part of that was the review of the El Dorado disposal. Another piece that came through, which came through on the consent, was appointing Director Scobie as an alternate member to EDSWAC, one of those wonderful governmental acronyms. And you can read about that in those pieces, as well as just the update. Yes, we're hoping to have we should have the first quarter of this fiscal year budget coming to us next month. Look forward to seeing that and bringing that to the board. Dr. Scobie, was there anything else from our meeting that you want to bring up?
Well, we're working on budget to actuals for last fiscal year, and hopefully we'll have that coming up soon as well.
Right, which comes with the closing of the year end and all of that, which was slightly delayed.
Yeah, as well as mid-year budget updates. Those are all on the radar, folks. You'll be seeing those soon.
Right. So that's the budget and admin committee update.
Great. Okay, moving on to CC&Rs. Will one of you ladies like to take that?
Yeah, I can start, Director Carlson. So we, as you all know, we have a new CC&R officer. And so we did have a committee meeting this month. The main topic that we reviewed were several residents provided testimony for the installation of a new fence on a property, and we resolved that. And then we really just talked about the pending cases. I think Jim is getting a really good start. I have a good feeling about this, and I think that he covered quite a bit of territory for his first monthly review. Felicity, anything else?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add that a member of the public, not at the meeting, but a member of the public had asked me if there was any kind of ordinance in Cameron Park for generator sounds. And I know we don't have a general generator ordinance, but I thought it was a really good question, considering that we're probably going to be facing more and more power shutoffs or just power outages. So I brought up that question, and I believe that staff said they would circle back with us in the future, kind of on what what we may or may not have in the, I don't want to misspeak, in the various CCNRs, or
Yeah.
something to do with nuisance, noise, that kind of thing. So just want to bring that up. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to fire and emergency services. I believe that that meeting was canceled. We did not meet. We did get an update here in our board meeting from fire. I don't know if there's anything else that our fire partners want to add to that. I don't see a report. Okay, seeing
One thing
none-
I could mention in that, and we meant to bring it up earlier, but it's appropriate here, is in the most recent reports from the county on building and permits and such, I saw the fire tower permit show up in the list of things going by. So that's the first time I'd seen that. So Sherry or Jed, you can speak to where that's at, but
I call them weekly.
Progress.
Yes.
Weekly.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Because I know they're so overloaded, and the whole process for doing this whole online thing, and there's all these permits and all these things out there. I'm not kidding when I say I call them weekly to check in, and they've been great, and they're so supportive of the program, you know, the project. But I'm just, yeah, so that's what you saw is basically the last news that I had, that it's moving forward this month. So
Yes.
yeah.
Progress.
Thank you for that update. All right, moving on to Parks and Rec. I believe that was canceled as well, but do we have an update regardless? Anything additional, Jill?
We're working to bring back all the different components, moving parts of the park improvement plan. So on those priority projects, which is the splash and spray ground for the lagoon area, grant applications and funding strategies and landscape architect, you know, agreement and things like that. So we're taking those next steps, and we'll be back to the Parks and Rec Committee with all that.
Great, thank you. Solar energy, Eric, you want to take that one?
Sure. Give the update. The Solar Ad Hoc Committee actually met twice this month. It's sometimes feast or famine. It'll go a while, and now we had action to take and things to work on. So we met twice this month. Our ARC consultants have been really good to bring us 3 of the potential proposals from the RFP. So we looked at that, sent them back with some questions and some clarifications. They went back to the vendors to get more apples for apples comparisons with some of the proposals. There was a clear one that kind of rose to the top. And so our ARC consultants are going to investigate what that would mean to contract in that. And so we're hopeful that this next month we'll be able to bring something back to the board for the board's consideration and discussion for next steps. Very encouraged by this. We are coming near the end of the year, and at this point, the solar credit expires at the end of the year. So we're working hard to get what we can done, and if the board decides to move forward with something, do that in a timely manner so we can take advantage of that in whatever configuration we make decisions here.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. So there you go. Next time we meet, we're hoping to have something to show you and talk with you about.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in the solar agenda packets and their PowerPoints that the consultants provided. And so if anybody is interested, encourage you to go in and take a look at that. It provides quite a bit of detail for you if you would like that.
Our website is new. If you get stuck as to where the meetings are, it's a little bit different. Just holler.
Great.
On the website, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We've completed our committee updates, and we're moving. Our next item is public comment for the closed session agenda item. I don't see anybody from the public here.
There are still 3 members of the public.
Oh, there are?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and ask for them to raise their hand if they would like to speak regarding any closed session item.
No raised hands.
Okay, so seeing no public
I'm sorry, Barbara raised her hand.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and hear from Barbara.
Go ahead, Barbara. Barbara, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't have anything to do with this. It has to do with, you did not ask for any public comment prior to this, except 1 or 2 items at the beginning. Like on your, the board information, is that, are we not allowed to speak to what was said? On,
That-
Monique?
Yeah,
I'm
that's a good
talking to
question.
you.
Actually, I would like to ask Jason. Jason, is because that's an agendized item, does that also go out to the public on the committee reports?
Typically, there is no comment on that because it's information. However, of course, the board always can invite the public to comment on it if it wishes to.
Well, I wasn't speaking to the committee reports, Monique. I was speaking to item 11.
I see. Okay, so Jason,
So
let-
small, I can't see it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so Barbara, your time hasn't started yet. Let me clarify our procedure here. So board information items in general, Jason, are not public comment items?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so then, because you're here, Barbara, let's go ahead and ask the board if they would like to hear, because we can change those rules with a board vote. So board, what do you want to do?
I think if Barbara has a comment, she is welcome to make it.
Do we need a motion?
This is Felicity. I agree with Holly. I'd love to hear Barbara's comment. I just want to, again, procedural question. I'm just to make sure I understand, I'm not in favor of sort of permanently changing general matters from board and staff to a public comment item because, and I'm not sure if that's what you're proposing, but to me, that's where it gets all fuzzy and gray in the Brown Act. So I like having public comment throughout the entire rest of the meeting, but I think that the board does need its place where we can just kind of talk amongst ourselves in front of the public, but without having a back and forth. But I'd love to hear what Barbara has to say tonight.
And just to be clear, the board could not make that permanent change tonight because you're not agendized for that type of thing. However, the board could opt to allow public comment on those tonight if it wishes.
So Jason, the proper approach would be to make a motion from the board for this, differing for this one.
Yes.
Meeting?
To allow
Okay.
public comment at this time regarding item number, I believe it was number 11, whichever the case is.
Yeah, as per the request of a member of the public.
Sure. So could a board member please phrase that as a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to allow public comment on board information item number 11 as per public request. This is a request for this meeting only, not changing policy moving forward.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, roll call, please, Jill.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Aston.
Aye.
Director Carlson,
Aye.
Director Morrison,
Aye.
and Director Wooten is absent.
Okay, so given that we are accepting public comment, Barbara can speak and anyone else in the public could also speak on this item. So let's start with Barbara.
Thanks. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Jess, also to the whole board for her work getting our HOA to finally clear back our trees and start working on the shrubbery. I've been after them for a few years. So I'm very thankful to the fire department for the job they've done. And of course, the job they did on the fire the other day. Someone came up to me at my job and said, "Oh my gosh, there's a fire right near your house." And I go, "Oh, I'm not worried, they'll get it." And they did. So, but then with that said, Jill, I really want to tell you, I'm really sorry about what you found out from the county about the center. It really baffles me why this is happening. I felt because we moved to the orange, that things were getting better in our county. So, you know, I feel really bad for all of you guys and for our community, you know, that this is happening. I don't understand it. And I'm going to talk to both Shiva and Lori Parlin about this. And I just don't understand why we're being held to a higher standard than, say, a restaurant or the schools. So anyway, just wanted to express that. And then Felicity, I certainly hope nobody passes anything on CC&Rs for generators, please, because we have to use one. So I know they're noisy, but we're very polite.
No, I agree. I understand that. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't run ours all night. We just run it a little bit. So gosh, I hope that does never happen. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Barbara, and thank you for putting up with our procedure too.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more thing, Jill, if you need donations for your trick or treat thing,
Mhm.
just shoot me an email and I'll get a couple bags at Sam's.
Okay,
for
thank you.
guys. Okay, you're welcome.
For the tube.
And a tube? No,
Thank you,
that's okay.
Barbara.
Okay, bye.
Nikki, are there any others who have raised their hand who would like to participate in item 11?
Yes, Sid is on. Go ahead, Sid.
You have to unmute yourself there, Sid.
Can you unmute, Sid?
I'm unmuted again. Okay, great.
You got it.
I'm not speaking to item 11, but I'm just introducing myself and be very happy to watch your process and looking forward to that day when I'll be joining you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sid.
Thank you, Sid.
Nikki, anyone else raise their hand?
No.
I'd like to acknowledge that Glenn Rombaugh is with us this evening. He is a member of our Solar Ad Hoc Committee and so thank him for his work on this. He's been really helpful, and that committee will be making a report out next month.
And thank you for that update. All right, folks. Given that we have now returning to our public comment on our closed session agenda item, if we have anyone in the public who would like to address this item, which is our closed session agenda, or one of the items under there, which is actually one now, item 1, please raise your hand and we'd be happy to hear from you.
No raised hands.
Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and convene to closed session. How do we do that, Nikki?
I need to move members of the public to a waiting room, and then I will pass off the host duties to either you or Eric, and then we'll have to close the meeting.
And how about a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Worth mentioning to members of the public, for any of them that want to stick around in the waiting room, once closed session is done, we will report out any action taken. So if they decide they want to stick around on with the blank screen, somebody will report out when this is done.
And I would like to say we only get a break if Eric will be the host in the closed session.
Oh, Monique.
Nice negotiating.
That's just a
There's
threat.
no negotiation there.
I
Well,
know.
that's what it is. Okay, so at this point,
That's ransom.
I think you officially close the open session meeting, correct?
I don't know. Are you going to drive the closed session for us?
Well, we have to close the open session.
Thanks,
Okay,
Nikki.
we are closing the open
Thank you,
session now.
Nikki.
5-minute break, guys.
So we'll
We'll
go out the recording at this point then, Nikki?
yeah, we got to get everybody else out of here.
Bye.
And then I'll send it
Bye,
over.
Sherry.
Bye, Sherry.
See you in
Bye,
5
Jed.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
Bye,
See you.
chiefs.
Thanks
Bye.
for being here,
Bye,
Glenn.
Mike.
Bye, Mike.
8:01.
See you guys later. Have a good one.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, and can we pause the recording then? Okay, so we're coming out of closed session. There's no members of the public here. No action taken and direction given to staff. Is that all we need then, council?
I would just add, Director Asen, if I could, that the board adjourned from closed session at 8:56 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll stop the recording at that point.
Good night, everyone.